Hello, this is Spellbinder Reports. This article that came out today with Kurt Nemo on PrisonPlanet.com, Friday, January 14th, 2011. Man, Rachel Maddow, enemy of liberty and the Bill of Rights, she is outright going to want to take away your gun rights. She says we're not allowed to defend ourselves. Only the government's allowed to defend ourselves. My last video basically told you that what they were trying to do is just take guns away so they can have a totalitarian government. This is what they're doing. She is a shrill for them. She is a sponsor for the Marxist movement in America and government. I mean, what she says right here just should make every red-blooded American mad, because in the Declaration of Independence, not the Bill of Rights or anything, but in there it says it's your duty to overthrow a government that is turned tyrannical. Not a right, but a duty. And she is a monster here. It says the limousine liberal Rachel Maddow used MSNBC show Thursday to call for a renewed gun-grabbing effort by the government after running an emotionally charged segment with Barrack Obama paying tribute to a 9-year-old mass shooting victim, Christina Taylor Green. Maddow read an anti-Second Amendment scream from her teleprompter. And let's see. And also, right down here, she also ran a video clip of Robert Gibbs, who basically said the tragic events provided the government with an excuse to engage in a fresh campaign of gun grabbing under the pretext of banning so-called assault weapons and protecting the American people from psychotics like Wagner. Maddow backed this up with a video clip of Bush Press Secretary Ariel Fleischer stating that Bush and the lesser in 2003 believed gun grabbing under the guise of getting rid of big bad assault weapons was a reasonable step in the concerted and ongoing effort to chip away at the Second Amendment. According to Maddow, the MSNBC, part of NBC family owned by the deaf merchant General Electric, Bush supported common sense restrictions on the Second Amendment. Maddow cited Bush sellout of the Bill of Rights to claim that gun grabbing is mainstream and is supported by both parties that are in fact the same political party, consisting of state worshipping political hacks, opportunists, and hired guns for the banksters and multinational corporations. The argument that the two parties should represent opposed ideals and policies, one perhaps of the right and the other of the left, is a foolish ideal acceptable only to doctrinaire and academic thinkers. Instead, the two parties should be almost identical, explains insider Carol Quigley. Maddow said that we have to decide as a country. She means the establishment must pass down authoritarian, totalitarian, gun-grabbing mandates through its hand-picked political class if we are going to keep the mainstream centrists, George W. Bush and Barrack Obama included, consensus on gun control that some restrictions are okay, or whether we are going to reject that long-held consensus of, totalitarian government. And oh man, she is such a shrill. In other words, we, the elite, are going to reject the Second Amendment, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence, and all writings and proclamations of the founders. Man. Let's go to this video. This is very interesting. She is such a hack herself. I mean, she's definitely anti-American, just by what she said. She doesn't read the Constitution, probably doesn't even know what it looks like. And here it is.
Amendment not about hunting or self-defense. It's about citizens having the ability to overthrow the tyrannical government of the United States. That was Congressman Paul Brown of Georgia speaking last April. E.J. Dionne wrote about this at the Washington Post today. He found Republican Congressman Ron Paul making roughly the same argument in print 5 years ago, quoting Mr.
She
Paul,
hates
quote,
Ron Paul.
"The Second Amendment is not about hunting deer or keeping a pistol in your nightstand. It's not about protecting oneself against common criminals. It's about preventing tyranny. The founders knew that unarmed citizens would never be able to overthrow a tyrannical government as they did. The muskets they used against the British Army were the assault rifles of that time." Again, the argument here is that the Second Amendment exists so Americans can overthrow the government. That is a view. It is a radical view of gun policy.
Americans are asked, why are you buying guns? They're buying it for civil unrest and to fight back against government tyranny.
It's conservative talk radio host Alex Jones. We essentially have two choices about what kind of country we are on this issue of guns. Do we believe the Second Amendment requires the citizens of this country to be well armed enough to defeat the military of this country? Is it about the power to literally overthrow our government? If that's the case, then this week's common wisdom is right. No matter what the national trauma, there could be no regulation of the American people's firepower whatsoever. I mean, right now it is essentially illegal for civilians to own machine guns, rocket-propelled grenade launchers, mortars, cannons, explosive time bombs, anti-tank guns, Molotov cocktails. I shouldn't say it's illegal technically. They're actually not outright banned, but we do restrict access to these things so greatly that these things that you see on the screen right here, these do not circulate among American citizens broadly. But if you are with the Alex Joneses and Ron Pauls and Paul Browns, if you are with the radicals on gun policy, then all of the laws that prohibit us from having these things need to change. In fact, all of the laws that prohibit us from having access to anything you can imagine in terms of weaponry need to change. Because in their view, to do right by the Constitution, you and I need to be able to defeat the U.S. military in battle. We need to be able to overthrow...
No, the U.S. military would join the American people when they wake up and not be against us. They would be with us against this tyrannical foreign-controlled government. Get it right, winch.
The U.S. government. So we need not only anti-tank guns and rocket-propelled grenade launchers and bombs. If the United States military is armed with depleted uranium munitions, if they're armed with nuclear weapons, in order to be able to compete with that, in order for you and me to go up against the tyrannical commander-in-chief of the U.S. military and defeat him in battle, you and I should quite literally be able to obtain private nuclear weapons.
She's just now being silly now. She's just being silly and just keep listening. This is madness.
This is not hyperbole. If you believe the gun radicals' philosophy about guns, that gun rights are to protect our ability to overthrow the government, then we need to be able to destroy the U.S. military so we can overthrow that government. Peace.
No, because the U.S. military, like I said, would be on our side. That's where we got to change the thoughts of the military to know that they've been duped.
Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. military, we need to be able to defeat him in battle. Is that what gun rights are for? If that is what gun rights are for, you and I need to be able to privately buy everything the military has and more. In fact, we would probably be advised, in order to protect our gun rights, to restrict what weapons the U.S. military is able to have so we can make sure we continue to have a tactical advantage. Forget the arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union back in the 1980s. Under this view of gun rights, every day should be an arms race between you and me and the 82nd Airborne, if that's the way we're going to approach gun politics. Is that the philosophy with which we approach it? Or can we approach gun politics the way that we do in modern America, which is that we reject that radical position? I mean, we love and enjoy those folks, and we like playing tape of them on the television, but we don't move forward on their suggestions.
This is just ridiculous of how she's gone about this. She is definitely a Marxist. This is the same type of talk that Hitler used and Stalin used and Marx used when they were overthrowing these countries of Italy and Germany. The same thing. They got the news media to do the same exact thing. This is a repeat of history, folks.
It's all about us protecting ourselves from a tyrannical government of the United States.
We can either accept that view of gun policy or instead accept the view that our Constitution allows law-abiding Americans to own weapons with some reasonable restrictions that allow us to be a modern industrialized democracy that is not a Thunderdome. Joining us now is E.J. Dionne, columnist for The Washington Post and senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. E.J., thank you for writing that smart column today at The Washington Post.
Oh, that's right. Another socialist newspaper appears because they seem to be anti-American in their views on people having the right to protect themselves from a tyrannical government, which is your duty to shut down if they become that. It says that right in the Declaration of Independence. Just get it out and read it, people. This lady is definitely trying to turn you against your own rights and turn you into a slave.
Well, bless you, and thank you for taking this issue on and casting it that way. I think we should spend the whole segment surprising everyone and praising George W. Bush for his very reasonable stand on gun control.
Well, I mean, the thing that strikes me, though, is that for all of the differences that you can find among mainstream Republicans and mainstream Democrats, even on issues of gun control, there is a consensus that the country is capable of addressing problems when the solution touches on gun rights. That has been the consensus the entire time that I've been along and longer. We do accept some restrictions on gun rights. So why is the common wisdom now that nothing can be done in this issue?
You know, I think that we have had a detour on this ever since the assault weapons ban is passed, because a lot of Democrats got very, very, very timid about this after the '94 elections, after Al Gore couldn't just win the election outright without having the court intervene on Bush's side in 2000, and after they took the House in '06, because they're terribly worried about losing rural states and losing rural congressional districts. In the meantime, most Republicans don't say they agree with Congressman Brown, but they've acted as if they do. The gun right, the assault weapons ban was not extended under President Bush because the Congress was taking essentially the NRA's position. And I do think what you said is really important, because people have to understand what is the logic behind this position. If it is based on this view that the purpose of the Second Amendment is to help us fight tyranny, and by the way, maybe the guys down the street now are tyrants, then you have to go all the way. If you're not going to go all the way, why can't we restrict the big magazines? If you had sort of had a smaller magazine, it's very likely fewer people would have gotten shot in Tucson. Why can't we ban assault weapons? So, but I think
it's all about let's take the guns away instead of training and teaching people how to use them properly and how to know what a situation is. We should all be bobbies. We should all be police. And that way we could get rid of the police. The police were introduced by the British, and it wasn't an American thing.
It's going to take an enormous effort, because there is just a huge political consensus that Republicans don't want to do it and Democrats are too timid to take it on. And they could have done it, by the way, in the last Congress when they controlled the Congress and Barrack Obama was in the White House. And they didn't. But it's got to be done now.
Is an event like this shock in Tucson a big enough shock to the political system that it could sort of shake loose the politics on this? I mean, I'm going to speak later on the interview tonight with the Congresswoman from New York who has introduced essentially the gun fix to reinstate that large capacity magazines ban. Has this event been enough to shake that, to shake loose those politics?
Only if people stay on it for an extended period of time. I think that the NRA and its allies have usually been able to wait out events like this. They make public statements saying all we need to do is arm everybody. So you even have the proposals that Congress people should go around armed. I must say, I wrote a column using their rhetoric on how we're all safer carrying guns, and it was a column called Arm the Senate. Let's take down all the barriers. If they really believe this, then they should want to walk around the Congress. At least some of these congressmen are living up to their word, but that's not going to solve the problem. Most people know know that's not going to solve the problem. But the NRA is in for a long game, and they have people who vote on this issue. They also, I can tell you, have people who write columnists a lot on this issue whenever they cross them, which is fine with me. That's their First Amendment right. But I don't think people who care passionately about gun control have ever made it a central voting issue the way anti-gun control voters have. There haven't been enough test cases where, say, a suburban Republican who voted against a
And there you have it. They want to take your guns, and they're saying it under some type of righteousness, as we should be disarmed and be a victim and not a protector. This is Spellbinder with the Spellbinder Report. Good day.